Hey, it's Brandon with Pence PC here to show you how to get USB Loader GX up and running on your Wii or Wii U console. USB Loader GX is a long-standing homebrew app made back in the original Wii days and has been updated consistently throughout the years. It works even better on a Wii U due to the native HDMI output for a higher quality video output. It has a Wii-like user interface that allows you to install Wii, GameCube, and Wii Virtual Console games to a hard drive or a flash drive. Seeing all of your games with box art for every game is quite amazing and visually pleasing. Before installing USB Loader, you must have your Wii U modded with custom firmware such as Tiramisu or Aroma, or if you're using an original Wii console, you need to have the homebrew launcher installed along with your CIOS changed. So, if you don't have your system modded, visit pencepc.com/guides to hack your Wii or Wii U console first, and then come back to this video. I will delve into the installation of USB Loader, the file types for each console, and ways to store the games, the storage options available, and the controllers that work best. Don't forget the different USB Loader options also. Visit pencepc.com to find all your Wii or Wii U needs. Purchase a fully set up Wii or Wii U ready to take advantage of the highly detailed Pence PC tutorials, or send in your console to be set up the same. Each console or service comes with a digital instruction sheet to answer any question you may have, which is always being updated, and you will see these updates anytime you access the link. Wii and Wii U products such as SD cards, cables, controllers, and more are also available to make your life easier. Visit the Pence PC Guide section to see all of the videos organized along with added information. This section will be fleshed out in the coming months, so stay tuned. Thanks, and now on with the tutorial. So let's start with the installation. So if you follow my previous guides on hacking your Wii U or Wii console, you probably don't have to put USB Loader on your SD card because it's already there. But just in case, I'm going to show that process. So here is the SD card from my Wii U. If you have a Wii console too, same process, go ahead and plug it into your PC. You will need this USB to SD card adapter if you don't have an SD card slot in your PC. So I am on my desktop PC now with my SD card plugged in. I can see all of the different folders. Now if you see some folders on here that's not on yours, it's not a huge issue. Go ahead and download the Pence PC USB Loader guide files. It'll come in a zipped archive like this. You'll need to use WinRAR or 7-zip to unzip it. But once I unzip it, I'll see this folder here, come in there, and I will go ahead and copy these folders there and drag and drop onto my SD card. If it asks to replace the files in the destination, just say yes. And everything should go where it needs to go, as long as you place that on the root of your SD card. After that is complete, go ahead and plug your SD card back into your Wii or Wii U. Alright, the SD card is back in the Wii or Wii U console. If you are using a Wii U, go ahead and launch the virtual Wii side, which is a little icon right here. Alright, once you're on your Wii menu or virtual Wii menu on a Wii U, go ahead and launch the homebrew channel. Once again, you have to have your Wii or Wii U modded before you can do this. Follow the Pence PC guide to accomplish that if you do not have it done. So you'll now see all of the homebrew apps for the original Wii. You want to come over here and launch yet another WAD manager. Press the A button to continue. When it says do you want to load another iOS, hit no, and then select the WAD location. It would be SD card. Go ahead and go down to the WADs folder right here and press A. Now this is absolutely vital. You choose the correct folder. If you are using an original Wii console, do the OG Wii WADs, okay? It even says there, do not use on a Wii U. If you're using a Wii U, go down to the Wii U vWii WADs. It says, do not use on an OG Wii. If you get these screwed up, you could brick your console. So, once again, if you're on an OG Wii, go ahead and go into this one. Go ahead and select this one here. Press A and then install. I am on a Wii U, so I'm going to back out and go to the Wii U folder. I will select this one that says vWii, because once again, Virtual Wii is on a Wii U. Only install the vWii if you are on a Wii U. I cannot stress this enough. Once again, if you are on an original Wii, select this folder. If you are on a Wii U, select this folder. So once again, I'm on a Wii U, I'm going to install this one. I select it, and I press A on Install WAD. Once it's installed, press any button to continue. Go ahead and back out by pressing the B button multiple times, then press the home button on the Wiimote. Press the home button on the Wiimote again to exit to System menu. As we can see here, the forwarder worked, and I now have USB Loader GX on my Wii menu. I can select it right here and launch it if I want. So that only solves the USB Loader forwarder on the vWii side or Wii side. If you have a Wii U, you want to do this extra step. Once again, if you have an original Wii, you don't need to follow this part because it's not relevant to you. Go back to your Wii U menu. So as mentioned before, we have the USB Loader GX forwarder on the vWii side, but that doesn't help us too much when we're on the Wii U side. I have nothing to launch it, so I'm going to go ahead and install a forwarder on this menu here. So go ahead and launch the Homebrew Launcher by pressing this here, or you might have to launch it through the Mii Maker. So if I launch Mii Maker, that'll also launch Homebrew Launcher most likely, if you're using Tiramisu or Aroma. I'm now loaded into the Homebrew Launcher, and I'm going to go over to the right and go and launch WUP Installer GX2. Go ahead and select the ULGX launcher, and then press the Install button. Are you sure that you want to install this? Yes. And then go ahead and install it to your NAND or internal memory. The forwarder was successfully installed. Go ahead and press the home button on the gamepad to exit out of here. Once it boots you back out, go ahead and press the home button again to exit out of here. It very well may boot you into the Mii Maker. Once again, press the home button to exit out. And close the software. And as you can see here, there is now an icon for USB Loader GX on the Wii U gamepad. So we're now able to launch USB Loader from the Wii U side, and we can also launch it from the vWii side or on the Wii side. Now we need to go ahead and get our storage options set up so that you can actually use USB Loader GX. So I want to give you some information before we continue on the different storage methods. If you are using a Wii U, you need to have 2 different storage devices for each side of the console. Now remember, there are 2 different sides, the Wii U side, which will be covered in a separate tutorial, and the vWii side, which is covered in this tutorial with USB Loader GX. The reason for needing 2 different storage devices is, on the Wii U side, the Wii U will format the drive with the proprietary format taking up the whole drive, leaving no extra room for USB Loader game installs. You'll have to swap out storage devices according to which side you want to play on, Wii U or vWii USB Loader GX. You can keep both devices connected if you use a compatible USB hub, but it can be very hard to find one that works. More on that later. So, more on the Wii U side. You can only have 2 TB as the max capacity. If you use larger than 2 TB hard drive, the Wii U will format the drive and only allow 2 TB as usable space. There is currently no way around this limit. Once formatted for the Wii U, that hard drive cannot be placed on any other Wii U since it was formatted specifically for that Wii U. Games can be installed by using the Homebrew app Nuspli or by placing the game files in the install folder on your SD card and installing the files to your hard drive using the Homebrew app WUP Installer. Now that the Wii U storage information is out of the way, we can focus strictly on this tutorial, which is the vWii or Original Wii USB Loader GX storage. So let's begin. You can store the games on a hard drive, flash drive, or SD card in a USB adapter. I always recommend a hard drive over a flash drive for better compatibility and likely longevity. You can use a wall outlet powered hard drive or USB powered hard drive. A major downside to using a USB powered hard drive is the Wii U doesn't give enough power in a single USB port to power a USB hard drive. You need to use a dual USB cable to plug into both back USB ports. The thick cable absolutely must be plugged into the top back USB port, while the thin attached cable plugs into the bottom back USB port. If you have a wall outlet powered hard drive, the single USB cable must be plugged into the back top port, or else games won't load correctly. No matter the device type you use, it must always be plugged into the back top USB port. The same with flash drives or SD cards to USB adapters. They must be plugged into the back top USB port. If you're using an original Wii, all storage devices have to be plugged into this USB port that is closest to this edge, or the outward facing USB port. If it is not plugged into there, the games will not load. The max theoretical size of a hard drive that can be used in USB Loader is 16 terabytes. I have tried a 16 terabyte hard drive in a USB hard drive dock connected to the Wii U, which was able to see the games in USB Loader, but it would not play them. That doesn't mean all 16 terabyte drives don't work, just the one I tested. Wii and GameCube games require different formats on the storage device to work properly. Wii games require a storage that has been formatted to either NTFS or FAT32. Unfortunately, GameCube games require a FAT32 format to be played. The issue with that is FAT32 only goes up to 2 terabytes. You cannot format a hard drive larger than 2 terabytes as FAT32. So, if you wanted both Wii and GameCube games on the same storage device, it would need to be formatted to FAT32. Do you necessarily need more than 2 terabytes? That is subjective. In my opinion, you'd have a hard time filling the drive with games that are worth playing on a 2 terabyte drive. But I totally get wanting everything. Well, luckily for those people, there are a few ways around this FAT32 2 terabyte limit. The first way around a FAT32 2 terabyte limit to be able to hold both Wii and GameCube games is to use a compatible Western Digital external hard drive above 2 terabytes. Certain models allow you to format the drive using Western Digital's own proprietary software called GUIformat. This software will basically trick the hard drive with software to allow it to be formatted to FAT32 and be used on older operating systems. It works perfectly if you can have the correct model number. The problem is, new Western Digital hard drives have been giving an error saying that the firmware on the drive has been updated and it cannot be formatted. I have created a list in the video description and pencepc.com/guides for confirmed working models. If you come across a drive that works, please post the product number in the comments or use the contact form to send me an email so I can add it. Once again, this method will allow larger than 2 terabyte hard drives to be used to store both Wii and GameCube games. The second way to accomplish this is to split the hard drive into 2 partitions. One partition under 2 terabytes for FAT32 GameCube storage, and the rest for NTFS for Wii storage. In USB Loader, you would just enable 2 partitions in the setting. Just like before, I have got this to work on one Western drive perfectly fine and the other didn't work. A third option is to use a storage device strictly for Wii games and keep the GameCube games on the front port SD card. Your front port SD card is already formatted to FAT32, and in the USB Loader settings, you can tell USB Loader to read the GameCube games on the SD card instead of the USB hard drive. Once again, one of those 3 workarounds are only needed if you wanted to use a storage device which holds both Wii and GameCube games above 2 terabytes. Now that you know about the storage devices, I will delve a little into the game files themselves so you have a quick understanding. For Wii games, you need to use a PC software called Wii Backup Manager or Wii Fusion program to transfer the game ISO files to your storage device. This needs to be done for the games to run correctly. Wii Backup Manager is Windows only, and Wii Fusion can be used on Windows, Mac, or Linux. 2 different file types for the Wii is .iso and WBFS. With the ISO game file, it is a full copy of the disk, usually around 4.7 gigabytes. With a WBFS game file, It is only the essential files, which means it will be much smaller in size most of the time. If you have the option, go with WBFS file. If you have an ISO file of the game, Wii Backup Manager will automatically convert the file to WBFS to save space. Now, the GameCube game files do not require a program to transfer to the hard drive. You can just drag and drop the ISO file without issue. So let's go ahead and get your storage device set up. Now that you know a little bit about the differences between the game file types, how do you get these game files onto your hard drive or onto your storage device? There are two options to get these game files. One is to copy directly from the disk in USB Loader, and the other option is just to download them from the internet. Here I am on an original Wii console in USB Loader GX. I have Super Mario Galaxy in the disk drive right now. If I come over here to this little plus icon, I can click it and install the game. Alright, so Super Mario Galaxy was successfully installed. Let's go ahead and take a look. And as you can see, it shows up right there. So what about GameCube games? Does it work too? Of course it does. Placed in an original Wii? Same method. Here it's asking if you want to install it to the SD card or the hard drive, which is the main path that I have currently. Alright, Super Smash Bros. Was successfully installed. Let's give it a shot. Perfect, it works. Now, copying Wii game discs works on both original Wii and Wii U in USB Loader, but the GameCube discs only work on an OG Wii. Placing a GameCube disc in a Wii U just spits it right back out. So unfortunately, you can't copy GameCube discs on Wii U. Another way to get Wii and GameCube ISO files is to go on archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit, is building a digital library of internet sites and other cultural artifacts in digital form. Simply coming to archive.org and searching in the bar here with a term such as Wii ISO brings up a ton of results. I can get even better results by coming here and changing it to the all-time views. Since I have Super Mario Galaxy on disk, I want to find the ISO file for it. This one looks like what I need, Nintendo Wii USA Part 2. Coming down to the download options, I can go one by one by choosing the 7Z, or I can download the whole collection by torrenting it. But I just need a single file. And I found the one I need right here. So now you know how to get your files. Here, let me show you the difference between them. Remember we talked about the ISO file? Right-clicking on it shows it is a .iso, and this one here, .wbfs. You can see the difference in size right here. The ISO file is 4.6 gigabytes. The WBFS, which is only the essential files you need, is 3.4. So over a gigabyte of saved space using the WBFS. Once again, when you transfer the ISO file using Wii Backup Manager, it'll automatically transfer it as WBFS. So now that you've got your game files that you need, let's go ahead and format your storage device and upload the game files. So to start with the first method for formatting your storage device, if it's 2 terabytes and under. Once again, 2 terabytes and under, this is what you need to do. I will show how to format larger than 2 terabyte hard drives after this process. So I've got a 2 terabyte hard drive plugged in, but it's not showing up. This doesn't always happen, but if it's not initialized, you won't find it on your computer. So let me go down into Windows and type Create. You should find an option that says Create and Format Hard Disk Partitions. It wants me to initialize the hard drive. Here it has selected as GPT, which is fine. Go ahead and press OK. Once again, you only have to do this if your hard drive is not showing up in your computer. Now that it's initialized, I can come down here. As you can see, it says unallocated. I will go ahead and do a new simple volume. Hit next. Don't need to change anything here. Next once again. And here I can go ahead and change this to whatever I want to call it. I named it 2 terabyte Wii. File system's just going to be NTFS temporarily, so let's go ahead and hit next. and then finish. So now we have access to it on your PC. But as we mentioned earlier, if you want to have Wii and GameCube games on this hard drive and access them in USB loader, it has to be formatted to FAT32. So let's go ahead and format to FAT32. To do that, we use a program called GUIformat. Go ahead and launch the program. The download is in the video description. As we can see here, GUIformat selected the correct drive. That doesn't always happen. Make absolutely sure you have the correct drive selected. Here we can see all the hard drives on my computer. Look in here, it is labeled as F. That is the one that I want to format to FAT32. So once again, I've got F. The allocation unit size is 32768 or 32K. And then for the volume label, name it whatever you want. I named it 2TB Wii. Now once we're ready, go ahead and make sure you have all Windows Explorer windows closed. So like this one right here needs to be closed. Any of them that are open will cause an error in GUIformat. If you do get an error, just make sure everything is closed, close out of GUIformat, and then relaunch it. But let's go ahead and start. Do you really want to format the drive? All data will be lost. Okay. It should only take about 5 seconds to format the drive. Now we are done. So looking at the drive and properties, we can see it's formatted to FAT32. Perfect, exactly what we need. Now I'll go ahead and show you the 3 different options that you can use to use above 2 TB and format it to FAT32. So as I mentioned earlier, I have one of the 3 TB Western Digital drives that is compatible to be formatted to FAT32. We can see it right here labeled as My Passport, and it's almost 3 TB. To be able to format this correctly, we need to use the proprietary software made by Western Digital called GUIformatter. The link is in the video description. Once again, you just need to do this if you have a hard drive that's over 2 TB and it's a Western Digital. Running GUIformatter will bring you to this. Just hit continue and accept. Here it found the Western Digital hard drive. Once again, it will not format any other brand other than Western Digital External. For these options, you want to make sure you have XP compatible. It's very glitchy. As you see, I move my mouse around here. It's really strange, but just make sure you have XP compatible selected. Now, when I move my mouse over the most compatible, it'll disappear, see? So once we have XP compatible checked, go ahead and format drive. You may run into some errors. It's not a big deal. It will always format correctly. This sometimes takes 10 seconds and other times it takes a few minutes. If you do run into errors, just hit OK or click the X button out of it. As you can see, the Western Digital external drive format was complete, and just hit exit. As I mentioned earlier in this guide, not every Western Digital drive is compatible. They've been updating the firmware on some of their newer drives, and it'll give an error saying that the firmware has been updated and it can't change the block size on the hard drive. If you run into that error, unfortunately you'll just have to find a compatible drive. Once again, I'm creating a list in the video description for compatible drives. Now that the hard drive was formatted with the Western Digital Quick Format tool, we're going to go ahead and launch GUIformat, link in the video description, and format it to FAT32. Once again, that Western Digital Quick Formatter basically changed the software on the hard drive to allow it to be formatted to FAT32. So in GUIformat, we want to make sure we have the correct drive selected. As we can see here, it's labeled as E, and right here I have E selected too. I can go ahead and name it whatever I want. I'm just going to name it 3 TB Wii. This is imperative right here. If you have a 4 TB and less, you want to choose the allocation unit size to 32K. If you have 5 TB to 8 TB, you want to make sure you change that to 65K. If you've got a 10 TB, change it to 256, 12 and above. I'm not sure because I've never done it before. Since we have a 4 TB and less, I'm going to go ahead and choose 32K, which is 32768. Once again, in GUIformat, you want to make sure you have all Windows Explorer windows closed. Like this window here needs to be closed or else you'll run into an error. So I'll hit start. And here we have it, a 3TB drive formatted to FAT32 so that we can store both Wii and GameCube games. Another way to fit both Wii and GameCube games on a hard drive larger than 2 TB is to split the partitions. One partition is formatted to NTFS for Wii games, and the other partition is formatted to FAT32 for GameCube games. Here, I have a 3 TB hard drive that is formatted to NTFS. Here I am using a program called Ease US Partition Master. This is a paid program. Unfortunately, I have tried doing this in Windows and it was just impossible. This program allows you to do it. It is a one-time fee if you wanted to do it. I think it's around $50, but as far as I know, it's the only way to do this. If you know of a different way, please post in the comments below. But here I have my 3 TB hard drive. I'm going to go ahead and right click and then go to allocate space. As you can see here, it went ahead and split it directly in half. So for this other partition, I can go ahead and change the file system to FAT32 because right now it's already in NTFS. For the partition label, I'll just name it GameCube because that's where I will store all of my GameCube games. Right now it's split directly in half, but I can even go ahead and change this a little bit if I wanted to make the GameCube side larger, or I can make the Wii side larger by going this way. I'll go ahead and split the Wii to around 2 TB. Since the GameCube library is smaller, I made it smaller. Here it's around 737 GB and I left 2 TB for my Wii games. I'll just hit OK. Now I'm ready to execute the operation and then hit apply. Now looking at my file explorer, I can see there's 2 separate partitions. The local disk E, which is going to be NTFS, and number F, which is labeled as GameCube, FAT32. So I would just have a games folder on the GameCube and a WBFS folder on the Wii side. So on my Wii partition, I have my WBFS folder and my Wii games. On my GameCube partition, I have my games folder and my GameCube games. So with my hard drive attached with the 2 partitions, one for Wii and one for GameCube, we can see that only Wii games are showing up right now. I would have to go into the settings right here and then go into hard drive settings. Make sure multiple partitions is on. And you can come over here to switch between the 2, FAT32 and NTFS. Now that it's on, it should be able to read both partitions. Go ahead and back out. And once again, if it does not read the GameCube games, go ahead and go to custom paths. It probably just doesn't know where the GameCube games are. So if we go down here and find main GameCube path, we can see that it's not looking in the right section. We want to go to USB 2 and then choose your games folder. There they are right there. So I will hit OK and path changed. Let's go ahead and back out and see if that fixed the issue. Perfect, it sure did. The third and final way around the 2 TB limit to be able to hold both Wii and GameCube games is to store your GameCube games on the front port SD card. So here is my Wii U SD card. I would just right click and make a new folder called Games. Set up the exact same way that you did on your hard drive. Got a games folder, and then I would just transfer the GameCube games in this games folder. On my 3 TB hard drive that is formatted to NTFS, I would put my Wii games. So just like always, you have to have a WBFS folder. Here I would store my Wii games. On my 3 TB hard drive, I have a WBFS folder along with the Wii games with their own folder named, and the WBFS files that are in that folder. So loaded into USB Loader GX, we can see that the Wii games are being read from the hard drive and the GameCube games from the front port SD card on the Wii or Wii U. This is because going to custom paths, we can see here that GameCube SD path reads it from the SD card. As long as you have a games folder on your front port SD card, it'll read them. And just a reminder, you can use up to a terabyte SD card on the Wii or Wii U, formatted to FAT32. Now there's only a few folders that you need on the drive for it to work. We're going to go ahead and create a new folder on the drive in the root of the drive. It's going to be called Games. The second folder that you will want is a folder called WBFS, and that's all you need, Games and WBFS. WBFS is where you will store your Wii games. Games is where you'll store the GameCube games. So let's explore the GameCube games. Once again, we've got this folder named Games, where the GameCube games are stored. Going in here, you need to have a folder for the game name. So, example, I've got Resident Evil, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Smash Bros. Melee. You can name it however you want, naming doesn't matter, but it just makes more sense to name the game for the game. Now going into Super Mario Sunshine, we can see the ISO file itself is named Game. So if the game ISO file was named Super Mario Sunshine, you need to right click and rename it to Game. USB Loader will not read it unless it is named Game. In examples for GameCube games that have 2 discs, like Resident Evil, the very first disc needs to be renamed Game, and the second disc needs to be renamed Disc 2, all one word. No spaces in between. Once again, this has to be done for it to be able to be read. Going into the WBFS folder, I have nothing because the Wii game ISO files, or WBFS, needs to be transferred using Wii Backup Manager. So let's go ahead and launch that. The Wii Backup Manager download is in the video description. Now, if you don't have a Windows PC, you'll have to download Wii Fusion. So it comes in a zipped archive like this, and I'll just extract it to Wii Backup Manager folder. Here it is right now, and then just launch the program inside that folder. Before transferring games, make sure you go to Options and then Settings. Choose the Titles tab right here, and make sure Use Game TDB Titles is checked. Also, make sure all of these are checked down below too. Once those are all checked and it looks like this, press OK. Once Wii Backup Manager is launched, go ahead and choose Drive 1. We want to select the drive that is our Wii/GameCube drive. So I'll choose where it says inactive and I'll choose Drive F. Now there's 2 files that I want to download to this hard drive. I have Super Mario Galaxy and Metroid Prime 3. Metroid Prime 3 and Super Mario Galaxy. Open those. If you have a whole folder full of games, you can also choose the folder, but I just have a few files, so I chose those. Now you want to make sure that they're selected. Once selected, go ahead and hit transfer, and then we'll transfer it to Drive 1 because that is our Wii/GameCube drive. Now it's going to transfer these ISO files and convert them at the same time to WBFS so that you'll save some space. You do need a WBFS folder on your hard drive. If not, Wii Backup Manager will ask you to create one. So let's go ahead and check our drive. Going into the WBFS folder, these 2 folders are now here that weren't there before. Wii Backup Manager automatically made the folders and placed the games inside those folders. Going into Super Mario Galaxy, we can see that it is now a WBFS file. Going into Metroid Prime 3, we can see that there's 2 separate files. The reason being, the hard drive was formatted to FAT32. The max file that you can transfer to a FAT32 device is like 4.4 gigabytes. So what it did was it actually cut up the files so that it can be transferred onto a FAT32 formatted hard drive. A great thing about the storage method, once you create it, it can be used on Wii or Wii U. It doesn't matter, it's interchangeable. You can swap it on any different console and it'll work in USB Loader GX. So there's an issue with the USB Loader GX drive. Anytime it's plugged into the Wii U wants to format it to its proprietary format. You don't want that because you'll lose all the information on it. To be able to hide the drive from the Wii U and have it ask you this question every time, we need to use a program called Ustealth on your PC and hide the drive from the Wii U. Here I am on my desktop, I have my hard drive connected to my PC, and I downloaded Ustealth, which is linked in the video description. Go ahead and launch Ustealth. So here's Ustealth. right, the very first one, it says system. That is your system hard drive for your PC. You do not want to hide that one. Here is my external hard drive, 4 terabytes. This is the one I want to hide because it is my USB Loader GX hard drive. So once you find the one you want, double click on it and hit yes. Partition was hidden, so you will not be able to access this on your PC anymore. If you ever want to unhide it, same process. You would just double click on it and now it's normal and you can access it on your PC after you unplug it and then replug it back in. But I'm going to go ahead and hide it once more so the Wii U does not ask me to format it. So here we are in the home menu and it did not ask to format the hard drive. Thank you, Ustealth. Now, how to get box art for all of your games. If you're in the USB Loader GX, you would just simply come over here. You'll probably see a question mark right here. Click on it and then check all of the different covers that you want to download. So I suggest downloading all of them. Once it's selected, go ahead and press OK, and it should download them. It might take a while if you have a ton of games on your storage device. You need to be connected to the internet for it to access the box art and download. Make sure you are on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band or else it will not work. If you're on a 5 gigahertz band, it will most likely not work. Another option to try if it doesn't work is to make a hotspot on your phone and connect to your phone. So it found missing images. I'm going to go ahead and press yes. Make absolutely sure you are on a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band instead of a 5 gigahertz. If you're on a 5, it will not work most likely. So another way to get box art for your games in USB Loader GX, as I showed, you can download it directly in there. If for some reason that doesn't work for you, you can actually download it in Wii Backup Manager. So here I have the program loaded up, and you can use another program called GameCube Backup Manager, which is a program that just released not too long ago, back in 2022. There's still some issues that I've run across just because it's so new and they're still trying to, squash all the bugs and everything. So it doesn't work perfectly, but it can get you the box art. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, Wii Backup Manager and GameCube Backup Manager are two different programs, so you have to have both of them. It would be absolutely awesome if they were both built into one, but that's not the way it goes. So go ahead and download GameCube Backup Manager. So starting out with Wii Backup Manager, so I'm going to go ahead and initialize my Wii/USB Loader GX hard drive. I'm going to choose it. I'm going to choose drive 1. Right now it's inactive, and then looking in Windows Explorer, I know that it's labeled E, 4 terabyte Wii. So I click where it says inactive and enable the drive E. Depending on how many games you have on your hard drive, it could take a while. As you can see here, I'm waiting a bit. One thing you want to make sure you do is go to your options and then choose settings, then choose the covers tab right here. Go ahead and make sure everything's checked like mine here. Coming down, make sure you have USB Loader GX selected. And then here, you're going to go ahead and find the folder that you want to download the images to. So I've got my SD card, my Wii U SD card plugged into my PC. I'm going to go to the apps folder, and then USB Loader GX, and then you would choose the images folder. That is where everything is going to be downloaded to, all the Wii covers. So if you don't have an images folder on your SD card, go ahead and make one. I made an images 2, and I'm going to select that one, but once again, you just do your images. This is just to demo it for the instructions here. And coming down to disk, make sure that's enabled, front is enabled, 3D is enabled, and full. It might not let you enable it, but it, I think, just downloads directly to the images folder. So we'll hit OK. Next, you want to select all the games, or if there's only certain games, you can go one by one and check mark them. But I want to select all of these games here. So I will do select all. Next, go to your tools, go to covers, and sync and download all. This is going to download the box art for all of the Wii games and put it on your images folder on your SD card. Now, as you can see, all of the box art is being downloaded. And if I go to my images folder, like I said, I'm using images 2 just for this demonstration, we can see in real time it downloading the files to the SD card. And now that you've got your Wii box art downloaded, we can go ahead and download the GameCube box art. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, Wii Backup Manager and GameCube Backup Manager are two different programs, so you have to have both of them. Go ahead and download GameCube Backup Manager. So to go ahead and find the folder with all of your GameCube games on it, click on this icon here, and then find your GameCube folder. You can see here that they loaded all in. As I mentioned before, this is a newer program, so it's kind of buggy. All the options weren't working, at least for me. But the best way I found out how to download the box art is to go ahead and come over here and select all. See, like that, that's not even working. It won't select it all for me. So it looks like I have to go one by one. I've got all of the GameCube games selected. And the main folder that GameCube Backup Manager is installed to, if you didn't change any settings whenever you installed the program, should be your C drive, then Program Files, and then GCBM. Then you'll want to come to Covers, Cache, and then most likely, depending on your region, I'm US, so I'm going to select US, and then this is where it will download the covers. So we can watch them download in real time right now by going to the Covers tab right here, and then sync and download covers of all games listed. Once again, in real time, we can watch them download. So now I've got my GameCube box art downloaded, and I can manually transfer it to my SD card. Going onto my SD card, I'm going to go into Apps, and then USB Loader GX, and you should have an images folder there. If you don't, create one, like I showed you with the Wii stuff. It goes in the same folder. So you would just highlight these folders, drag and drop into the images folder on your SD card. And now you have GameCube cover art. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the settings so you can get accustomed with USB Loader GX. Starting with the very top settings, located right here is your favorites. To favorite a game, select a game you like. If you've watched some of my previous 3DS hacking videos, you'll know that Barbie Horse Adventures is one of my favorites. So I'll go ahead and select that one, and here on the left side you'll see that there's stars. It doesn't matter how many you choose, of course I'm going to choose 5, then you can go ahead and back out. When I click this star at the top, you'll see your favorite games shown. And to remove it from your favorites, simply remove the stars. The magnifying glass is the search option. Searching for SUP brings up all the super games. The ABC, you can sort alphabetically. Or you can sort by rank, which are the stars that I showed you previously, to favorite games. Or you can sort by the number of players. If your Wii or GameCube games aren't showing up, make sure you have the selector mode, which is this icon right here. Make sure Wii and GameCube games are checked. NAND channels are anything that you have installed to your NAND, such as emulators. The next option right here is categories. So for example, I can press the plus button and name a category. So I'll name this one Sports and hit OK. Then I will put a check mark and save. So let's select Super Swing Golf Season 2. In here, I can go to the settings and go to categories. I can place this game in the sports category and then save. Miraculously, only the sports games show, which I physically went in and selected it for this game. The one next to categories is the list. You are viewing the list right now. You can change the view by going Display as a Grid, which is right next to List. The one right next to Grid is Carousel. And the one next to Carousel is Channel Grid. So it looks just like the regular Wii menu. Next up is Parental Lock. You can create a parental lock and only allow certain games to be ran. To mess with that, you can go into the main settings and go over one to parental control. You can set a password and allow different games or options to be enabled. And the last option at the top is the disc option. Selecting this will allow you to play the disc from your DVD drive. Now time for the main settings. In GUI settings, there's a bunch of different things that you don't really need to mess with. Really, everything in GUI settings you can keep as default. In loader settings, really the only option that you definitely need to change is return to. So select this one, and you'll want to most likely return to USB Loader GX. Whenever you exit a game such as a Wii game or a GameCube game, you'll probably want to go back into USB Loader. So go ahead and select USB Loader GX as the one. In hard drive settings, you would come here if your hard drive isn't initialized. Selecting this right here and pressing A on it can sometimes reinitialize it, allowing you to read your game. We mentioned this earlier, but if you have multiple partitions, you'll want to go ahead and turn that on. The rest of the stuff you can keep as default. In feature settings, same thing, everything as default is perfectly fine. Banner animation settings, perfectly fine on default. Sound, fine on default. Parental controls, you can mess with that stuff yourself. Custom paths are pretty much always fine as default, but if you're not seeing your GameCube games on your hard drive, you'll want to make sure that you select that one. So going to the main GameCube path, you can select this, and make sure that the USB is correctly choosing the games folder on your USB hard drive. In the feature settings, it's a good idea to update Nintendo if you're not sure how old your version is. Nintendo is what runs GameCube games. USB Loader is just a front end that accesses the Nintendo app. So it's a good idea to go ahead and update that. And on the last menu, the update button here will update your USB Loader GX. If you're following this guide and added it to your SD card, it's probably already updated, but you can always check anyway if you're watching this down the road. And then hitting default settings will default everything back to normal if you changed anything. Time to delve into the controllers that you can use in USB Loader GX, starting with Wii games. Unfortunately, you can only use a Wiimote and nunchuck. There is no way around this. Nintendo brand Wiimotes always work, but I can't say for certain on every third-party Wiimote because there are just too many out there to test. Make sure to sync the Wiimote while in the Wii U menu, or else it will not connect in USB Loader. How do you know if you have an official Nintendo brand controller? It will have a Nintendo or Wii on the controller itself. This isn't always a 100% guarantee, but I haven't come across a third party that used that branding yet. Fortunately, there are more options for controllers on GameCube. My personal favorite is using a Wii U Pro controller for GameCube games. Not only does it work on the Wii U side, but it works in GameCube games, and you can navigate the USB Loader menus all wirelessly. Using a USB to GameCube adapter plugged in the front port USB slots for a native GameCube controller is another option. Wireless Wavebirds can be plugged into the adapter and work for sure if it is an official Nintendo brand adapter. I have tested third-party ones that did not work with the Wavebird. The Wii Classic controller is another option. Sync the Wiimote while in the Wii U menu and connect the Classic controller into the Wiimote. It works great. An even better option than the Classic controller is the GameCube to Wii controller. It plugs right into the Wiimote, can navigate the menus, and play GameCube games. Those are the 4 GameCube options. Please let me know in the comments if I am missing any. Also, if you find a third-party controller that does work in USB Loader, mention it in the comments so I can add to the list. While using a Wiimote in a Wii game and you want to return to the game selection screen, press the Home button and select Wii Menu. While using a GameCube controller, press the button combination L plus R plus Z plus D-pad down to return to the game selection screen, or you can press the Home button on a Wiimote if one is connected. If using a Classic controller or GameCube controller connected to a Wiimote, press the Home button to return to the game selection screen. There is a homebrew app called BluePair, which allows you to connect a wide range of modern controllers to the Wii U, but it only works on the Wii U side, and is unusable in USB Loader GX at the moment. Now that I have shown you how to load Wii and GameCube games, I will show WiiWare and Wii Virtual Console games accessed in USB Loader GX. Normally, you would purchase a WiiWare game on the Wii eShop, which would install the game to your NAND, or also known as your Wii internal memory. This would then create a channel for the game on your Wii home screen. That doesn't help us in our instance because we want to access the games in USB Loader. So, what we will do is create an EMU NAND, or emulation NAND. This will create a copy of your NAND so we can install the games to it. Doing this will also give us much more space to install games, as the Wii NAND size is only 512 megabytes. Yes, megabytes, which doesn't leave much room for game installs. Even if you are on a Wii U, you are still limited to this 512 megabytes. There are a few issues using this emuNAND method for WiiWare games. Most Nintendo 64 WiiWare games won't work, along with a few select games such as Castlevania Rebirth. For games that don't work with this method, they will need to be installed to your normal NAND, which I will show. There is a way to get around this issue with those problematic games, but it is quite complex and not something I want to delve into with this guide. Let's go ahead and take a look at the WiiWare file type. So, if you are wanting to install WiiWare games, place your Wii or Wii U front port SD card into your PC. Okay, so here we have my Wii U or Wii SD card. If you don't already have these two folders, emuNAND channel folder and emuNAND save folder, go ahead and create them now. All you have to do is right click on your SD card, go to new, and then create a new folder. Name them emuNAND channel folder and emuNAND saves folder. If you do not have a WADS folder, like this one right here, WADS, go ahead and create one. This is where you'll place your Wii Virtual Console and WiiWare games. So let's go ahead and go into the WADS folder. In the WADS folder, go ahead and create a wiiVC folder. This is where we will place our files. If you don't see these two folders here, that's perfectly fine. You don't need to worry about those. So going into the wiiVC folder now, there is nothing. This is where we're going to place our game files. So I've got a folder here on my desktop with the files that I want to transfer. Right now, I've got Castlevania Rebirth. Now, like I said earlier, this game does not work with emuNAND, but I'm going to go ahead and transfer it just to show you how to install it to your main Wii home screen so that you're able to play this. Same thing with Nintendo 64 games, like I mentioned, those have issues, so I'm going to do the same thing with the Mario Kart 64 that I'm going to do with Castlevania. Now, the rest here are going to work perfectly fine because they're not Nintendo 64, and they're not one of the few select games like Castlevania that doesn't work with emuNAND. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer them both, but before I do, look at the file type. Every WiiWare or Virtual Console game is a .wad file. So you're going to have to make sure that you have .wad files, or else this will not work. Where can you get these files? Well, it's up to you. I mentioned earlier in the guide that internetarchive.org is a great site to find stuff like this. So if you can find it there, or maybe on the internet, because there is no way to purchase these games on a Wii eShop anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer them to my SD card in my WADS/wiiVC folder. Now go ahead and plug the SD card back into the Wii or Wii U. Now that your SD card is back in your Wii or Wii U, go ahead and launch USB Loader GX. Once USB Loader is loaded up, go ahead and go to the settings icon right here, and then move over one tab and go to Custom Paths. Go down to the emuNAND Save Path and emuNAND Channel Path. For the emuNAND Save Path, we're going to select our SD card emuNAND Save folder. So a few minutes earlier when we created these folders, you're going to go ahead and select it. So for the emuNAND Save Path, I want the emuNAND Saves folder. I'll select that one and then press OK. And then for the channel path, same thing, select that. Make sure you choose the emuNAND channel folder and then press OK. Now I have my emuNAND save path and my emuNAND channel path on my SD card. You can put those folders on your storage device like your hard drive or flash drive that you're accessing the rest of your games onto. I just like to do it on my SD card. So if you wanted to put those folders on your hard drive, go ahead and do that. And then you would just select, instead of the SD card, you would select the USB, and then you would select the emuNAND saves folder. So if you wanted to keep everything just on one device, that's perfectly fine to do too. After changing those custom paths, let's go ahead and go to the left and go to loader settings. Go down to emuNAND save mode. For this, go ahead and choose partial, and for the emuNAND channel mode, choose full. So for a quick and thorough explanation, we go to Cyan, which is a legendary modder on the GBA Temp forums. He's been around a long time, answers a ton of questions. But this was actually done back in 2013, almost 10 years ago. Looking at the emu NAND save, if you have it disabled, default load everything from your real NAND. If you have it as partial, it's going to save the save games from the emu NAND save path. It will use the other settings from the real NAND or your real internal memory, like your Me, your network, your Wiimote sync, everything like that. If you do it a full, it'll redirect everything to the emu NAND. So your save games, your Me, your network, your Wiimote sync settings. So you don't really want to do the full for the save because, so if you sync a new Wiimote, it's not going to work and you'll have to update your system configuration. It's just better just to use partial. For the NAND emu channel, we put full. It redirects everything to the emu NAND. Now, partial, he says, I don't understand this mode, and then having it disabled is not possible. So really the only option we have for the NAND emu channel is the full option. So now that we have our save mode and our channel mode changed, we can go ahead and back out and go to the features option right here. Go down to the option dump NAND to emu NAND and select. This is going to copy our internal memory or NAND and make an emulation or copy of it. So we want to copy everything, and then we will check the channel path. And it was a success. All files were extracted, so we now have an emu NAND on our SD card. So now that we have an emu NAND, we can go ahead and install the WAD files or the wiiware Wii Virtual Console games. So now that we have our emu NAND created, we can go ahead and install those wiiware or wiiVC games. Go ahead and select the emu NAND WAD Manager. These two options allow you to install a whole folder worth of WAD files, or you can just choose single ones by going to File. For demonstration purposes, I'm only going to choose File right now. Once again, if you've got a whole folder full of them, go ahead and choose Folder. But I just want to choose File because I have a few different games in here. Some of them are not compatible, like I mentioned earlier, and I will show how to install those after this. So I chose File. I'm going to go where I have my WADs saved, which is in the WADs folder, and then the wiiVC folder. I'm going to go ahead and install Metroid for the original Nintendo. This is a virtual console game. And then once I selected it, go ahead and hit OK. What do you want to do? Do you want to uninstall it or install it? I want to install. Done. Let me do one more. Choose File, go to the WADs folder. Let's do Sonic the Hedgehog Episode 1 WiiWare. And then hit OK. I want to install it. Alright, now that those two are installed, they should show up in USB Loader. Go ahead and back out. One thing that you need to make sure that you enable is come up here to this console icon, and then make sure you have NAND or emu NAND channels both selected, and then hit OK. So let's look for Metroid. And there it is. You may not have box art for it, but as I showed earlier, how to get box art. If you missed that part, go back into the guide to see how to get box art for the game. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Many games may require a Wii Classic controller to work. This one fortunately allows a Wiimote. And here's the other one that we installed. So as I mentioned earlier, some of the games are compatible with this emu NAND and you have to install it this way. I will now show how to install it onto your Wii home menu. Go to your homebrew channel. Go ahead and launch yet another WAD manager. Press A to continue, press A on load another iOS, and then press A on SD card. Go down to your WADs folder. Go down to the wiiVC. Select the game that you want to install. So in our case, once again, these two do not work with emu NAND. At least I'm pretty sure. So we want to install them to the home menu. I'll first select Castlevania, and then install WAD. Installation was complete. Now time to install Mario Kart 64. Install WAD. Go ahead and back out by pressing B button on the Wiimote multiple times, and then hit the home button. So let's go to our main system menu to see if they are installed. And sure enough, we've got Mario Kart 64 and Castlevania Rebirth. I'm going to give a little info about saves, but not go super in depth at the moment, as I may make a dedicated video. Wii game saves save directly to your NAND on your Wii or vWii. They can be accessed just like a regular save while playing from a disc, which is in the Wii or vWii data management. I talked about emuNAND earlier in the guide when I showed how to install Wii Virtual Console games and WiiWare games in USB Loader GX. Creating an emuNAND creates a copy of your internal memory and allows you to store a variety of saves and games on the emuNAND instead of installing to your actual NAND. Check that section out if you want to see how to create an emuNAND, but game saves can take advantage of the emuNAND too by being stored there. So if you ever wanted to upload the game saves currently stored on your Wii or vWii NAND and copy them to emuNAND, use this option in USB Loader located in Features and called Export All Saves to emuNAND. Another way to manage your Wii saves is to go to Save Game Manager GX, which is a homebrew app. If you see this message, just hit Repair. There's a few settings that you want to enable in the settings. Go to the Features menu and Enable EMU Browsers. Enable that on. Go to Custom Paths, and if you have an emuNAND, you want to go ahead and put that as your saves path. So if you have your emuNAND created and you uploaded your game saves to your emuNAND, you'll want to make sure that you put that for your saves folder. On the home screen, come up here to this icon and you can switch between. Right now, if I wanted to see my game saves on my actual internal Wii NAND, I would select the Wii icon. And right here, you can see my Barbie Horse Adventure save. I can extract it and upload it to my SD card, or I can install it to my emuNAND, and since I uploaded my Wii saves to my emuNAND, I can actually see them. So once again, coming up here to this icon, I go over and scroll to emu1. Here you can see that it was uploaded to my emuNAND. And it works just like a regular game save on my internal memory. For GameCube saves, wherever you have your GameCube games stored, so right now I've got my GameCube games stored on my external hard drive, whenever you go to run a game, it's going to automatically create a saves folder on that device. So if you've got your GameCube games on the front port SD card and you run a GameCube game, it's going to create a file on your SD card called saves. But since I've got mine on my hard drive, it created one on the hard drive and it puts all of my saves in this folder. So I've mentioned before that you have to have two separate storage methods, one for Wii U and one for vWii or USB Loader GX. Now there's a main issue with this. You can't have both of them plugged in at the same time. I have tried and tried to circumvent this, and I finally figured it out. Unfortunately, it's kind of overkill what I have set up, and this USB hub that I have here that allows us to do this is the only one that I could find so far that works, but that's the thing, it works. So I have this 10-port USB hub, and it works. I have 4 different USB hubs, and this is the only one that ended up working. I have the smaller version of this larger 10-port one too, right here, and that one didn't work. I think the main factor has to do with the power. The smaller one is a 5-volt 3 amp, and the larger one is a 12-volt 2.5 amp. I think it has something to do with that. Not absolutely positive, as I don't have all the money in the world to buy a bunch of different USB hubs, but that is just what I'm thinking. If you do have a USB hub that you test and it works, please post in the comments and I'll add it to the list. So I drew up a little guide showing how this works. First off, right here, we have our vWii FAT32 HDD. We've got the dual USB cable plugged into this vWii hard drive. The thick cable on the USB cable is plugged into the top back USB port on the Wii U. Then the thin attached cable is plugged into USB port 3 on the USB hub. I don't think it matters too much where these are plugged in, but this is just where I had them when it worked. Now, the Wii U hard drive which was formatted on the Wii U, has a single USB cable plugged into port number 4. Now, the data cable that is plugged into the hub goes into the bottom back USB port on the Wii U. And then, of course, you've got the 12-volt power supply that is plugged into your wall outlet. So let's go ahead and get this set up in real life. So once again, I said that this is overkill, but it's what works. Even though it's way overkill, it actually looks pretty cool. It matches the Wii U. It's got a glossy finish, just like the Wii U. It's black and lit up blue. So as my picture showed, we have the 12-volt cable plugged into a wall outlet, which is powering it right now. The data cable that is from the USB hub is plugged into the bottom USB port in the back. For the Wii U formatted hard drive, we are going to plug it into port number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's only a single cable. With the vWii USB Loader GX formatted hard drive, we've got the dual USB cable. Once again, the thick cable plugs into the back of the Wii U in the top port. Now, this thin attached cable on this dual USB cable is plugged into port number 3. Once again, I don't necessarily think that these have to be in here, but once again, this is what worked for me. So if you were to plug them in different ports, it might work. So now we have it set up. Let's go ahead and start the Wii U. If you start your Wii U and you get this message, it is most likely because you forgot to hide your vWii or USB Loader GX hard drive using Ustealth. I showed how to hide this hard drive using Ustealth earlier in the video guide. So if you did not do that, follow that part. So now that the vWii/USB Loader GX hard drive was hidden using Ustealth, you do not get that message anymore. I've got both hard drives connected, just like I showed before, and as you can see, this Advance Wars right here is installed to my Wii U hard drive, so the games are showing up. I can prove it by going to the settings and then data management, copy, move, delete data, and my USB storage device 1. Here we can see Advance Wars is installed to that hard drive. Now we'll go ahead and back out and I'll launch USB Loader GX. Now when you have two hard drives connected and you go to run USB Loader GX, you might get this error code here. It just can't find the hard drive for some reason using a hub. I'm not sure why. I've tested it in the past and I haven't had this issue, but of course when I go to record this, it's giving me this error. If that happens, you have two options. While booting your Wii U, go ahead and hold the start button on the gamepad and then power on your Wii U. Holding the start button on boot up will launch you into the boot selector, so you can go directly into your vWii system menu or vWii homebrew channel. I suggest the homebrew channel to launch USB Loader GX. And while in the homebrew channel, we can go ahead and launch USB Loader GX. As you can see, the hard drive loaded right up, and I have my Wii U hard drive connected too. You can go ahead and back out, and go to the Wii menu, and then go back to the Wii U menu. And as you can see, loaded into the Wii U menu, I have access to my Wii U hard drive, and if I want to go back into USB Loader GX, I can go ahead and hit the Wii menu and launch USB Loader GX from the Wii menu if you have errors whenever launching USB Loader GX from your Wii U menu. Right now I have Tiramisu loaded up. I'm going to go ahead and load up Aroma. I have a USB Loader GX shortcut on Aroma. Let's see if that one works. So to do that, while my Wii U is powered off, I'm going to hold the X button on the gamepad and boot up my Wii U. This boots me into the environment loader where I can go ahead and load Aroma. Going to the top and pressing A on Aroma will load me into it. And as I mentioned, I have an Aroma exclusive USB Loader GX forwarder right here. As you can see, we've got the Tiramisu one right there, but let's go ahead and check the Aroma and see if that one gives us any errors. And no, it did not. It loaded right into USB Loader GX from the main Wii U menu using Aroma and the USB Loader GX Aroma forwarder. Since you placed the Pence PC USB Loader GX files on your SD card before this tutorial, you're going to have that forwarder on your Aroma already. Did you enjoy this guide? Visit pencepc.com/guides to view many more tutorials for Wii, Wii U, and more, all organized in order to take advantage of many homebrew apps and bring your console into the new year. Consider subscribing to the channel today to help us continue making these guides. Thanks again.